We begin with a controversial new morning after pill that may soon be available to American women. It's called Ella 1, and it prevents pregnancy for up to 5 days after unprotected sex. The FDA is set to meet tomorrow to discuss the approval of Ella. We're joined now by ABC medical consultant Dr. Jacques Moritz to discuss this new morning after medicine. Dr. Moritz, great to see you. Thanks for being here. So tell us a little bit first exactly how Ella 1 or Ella works.
Okay, so Ella is very similar to RU486. This is ulipristal, that's mifepristol, and it works by blocking progesterone. If you don't have progesterone, number one, you won't ovulate, and if you did ovulate, you won't be able to support a pregnancy. So that's how it works.
And it can block the progesterone for up to 5 days?
It can, correct.
So that's why you have this window of 5 days?
That's correct.
Okay, now don't we already have, though, in this country, Plan B?
We do. We have Plan B, which is progesterone. So this is anti-progesterone. That's progesterone. Doesn't work as effective, but it does work also. Same thing. Blocks ovulation if taken before ovulation, and kind of blocks what we call in medicine the luteal phase, the part that supports the pregnancy.
So the Ella seems to be slightly more effective than Plan B, and it has also a longer window in which you can take it.
That's absolutely correct. So what they showed in the European studies was that you could take it for 5 days, and they had a 50% increase in efficacy, meaning it worked better. Now they both work really similar. So one had a 2% failure, Ella 1 had a 1% failure. They both work well.
And Ella 1 is available in Europe. How long has it been approved there?
It's been out for a couple years in Europe. There haven't been long-term studies like the Plan B, which has been used for over 25 or 30 years.
But based on the studies that exist, it seems like there are no long-term side effects?
It appears that there are no long-term side effects from either one of them.
Right. So this wouldn't prevent a woman from becoming pregnant later on in life?
Right. That's an excellent question. But it should be made clear. This is not a contraceptive. This is not for women to get lazy and say, oh, we got Ella 1, I don't have to take the pill, or I don't have to use contraception, I have 5 days, I'll just go and get an Ella 1. This is nausea, this is messing up your cycle, this is bleeding. This is not something you want to use on a monthly basis. This is emergency contraception. Everyone
emergency
watching has to understand
keyword.
Emergency, exactly.
And so the FDA obviously has not approved this drug yet. They're set to meet on this tomorrow. What is the likelihood, do you think, that they will approve it? I mean, I know in the past this is a tough thing to talk about.
Well, they just got through Plan B, getting it over the counter without a prescription if you're over 17. This is politically charged just because certain people aren't certain of how this works. This has to do with when does life begin, because if you stop the progesterone after fertilization, some people will say, well, that's an abortion. Doctors don't believe it happens until implantation, but that's, the FDA should be looking at a couple things. Does it work? Is it safe? And that's about it. And now the way it works is the FDA has an advisory committee, and then they recommend or not recommend the drug, and then the head of the FDA decides on whether it gets FDA approved. Usually, they follow the expert opinion.
They do, okay.
They usually do.
Is this the kind of drug then, like the like Plan B, that will be available without a prescription if it becomes approved?
I don't think so. Reading between the lines, even in Europe, it's not really. I think that initially, because there is some controversy whether women could use this to create an abortion on an established pregnancy, I think that if they approve it, they're going to put it in the doctor's controls first, and we're far from over the counter. We have one over the counter, but I don't think this one's going to be over the counter.
It's mainly that that 5-day window that makes some people uncomfortable, correct?
That is correct, and that this is the cousin of what we call the French abortion pill, RU486. So that's a very charged. That is approved for medical abortions. And there haven't been studies, but since it's so closely linked, if you took enough of these pills, more than likely it would do the same thing. So that's where we're going to have issues with this.
And also it bears repeating that, as we've seen with Plan B, that there are sometimes pharmacists and doctors who do have moral or religious objections and might not prescribe it and might not let people buy it from them.
And I personally think that that's fine. If you don't feel comfortable, and if this is, rubbing you ethically wrong, then there are plenty of other people or plenty of other pharmacies. This becomes an issue in small towns where there's only one doctor and one pharmacy. What do you do then? So, these issues have to be worked out.
There's lots of issues politically charged.
There are.
But we need to continue the dialogue,
We
that's
sure
for sure.
do. We sure
All
do.
right, thank you so much, Dr. Jacques Moritz.
Pleasure.
And don't forget, you can follow ABC News Now on Facebook and Twitter. Just search ABC News Now.